Happiness through curiosity on TRS Clips.
I remember an anecdote I had read, and that's not an anecdote actually. It's a true incident. There's a beautiful text in Bengali. It's called Tantra Bhilashi Sadhu Sangha, which means that Tantra Bhilashi, somebody who is curious about Tantra sadhana, tantric processes, that kind of an individual, he goes out in search of sadhus who are of the tantric persuasion, and he interacts with them. And this gentleman spent 12 years roaming around India trying to find these kind of people. Later he came back home, and later he had gone to Sri Aurobindo, and then he wrote that book, and that book is a cult classic. Only thing is that it is in Bengali. Those who have read it, it'll blow your mind. It's one of the greatest books I've read. So there he had an interesting encounter. He mentions he comes from a traditional Vedic family, so he is suspicious of Tantra. He mentions right at the beginning. He thinks that this is some kind of jhol, to use the very typical Mumbai language.
Like some kind of farce.
Farce. Yeah. He doesn't believe that this thing actually leads to anything. He's very skeptical, and he's very honest that he's skeptical about it. But he's still curious to see. And it's perhaps his destiny that he gets to meet a lot of great tantric upasakas of that era. And he was an artist, by the way. So all he used to carry with him was a pen and paper. And whenever he used to meet somebody interesting, he used to make a sketch of that individual. Okay. So he goes to a place called Vakreshwar in Bengal. Vakreshwar is one of the ancient Shakti Pithas.
An important divine feminine temple.
Yes.
I'm having to translate everything because we have so many American and European viewers. But I got your back. Go download my meditation app. I'm kidding. Go on.
So he goes to Vakreshwar. That is one of the very famous and powerful temples of the goddess, okay, of the tantric temples. And it was that in that era, the temple was famous for Virachar sadhana. Virachar is an extreme form of Tantra sadhana where these things come into play. Viracha, Veer means you are like a hero. Veer. Okay. Since we're talking of Tantra classifies men into 3 categories. First is Pashu, an animal. Who is an animal? Who has no spiritual conception. Just going around doing whatever else you are doing in life, you are a Pashu. After you have the tantric initiation and you start doing your practices, you become a Veera. You are a hero because you are trying to fight against your tendencies and develop yourself spiritually. And then last stage, you become a Divya or a divine being. Okay. This is the 3 categories of men. Whole of Tantra Shastra is meant only for the Veera. For the Pashu, who is uninitiated at the initial stages, you do the Vedic sadhana. You are not even entered the arena. The Veera, after you have the initiation, then only all these rules, all this makara, everything comes into play. And finally, the divine, the Divya, he also has no rules. Why? Because he has already become divine. Whatever he does is correct. So Tantra says that you don't mess with him, and the Pashu, you don't bother about him. It's only the middle section that I am curious about and bother. That temple was famous for Virachara, and this gentleman goes there. And this must be in early 1900s, maybe 1910 or something. I don't remember the year, etc. So people tell him that in the cremation ground, and the cremation ground still exists, by the way, and that cremation ground is so interesting, not advisable for people to just hear and rush there. But even in the afternoon, if you go there, you'll have that certain airy feeling there in that area. It's wonderful place for certain kinds of upasanas, certain kind of tantric sadhanas. And thankfully, it is not yet commercialized, so it's good. Here he goes there, and there's a temple of the mother goddess of Ma Durga is there, Mahisamardini, and he stays in the temple. In the those days, if there's a wandering monk that comes, he used to wear that monk kind of dress. So they gave him some food and a place to stay and all that. And somebody tells him that there is an Aghori who sits in the cremation ground. So they just call him Baba. They don't know what his name is. They just know that he has come from Tamil Nadu. He's come from the south, and he's sitting there, and he stays there in the cremation grounds, and nobody disturbs him. Nobody messes with him. And this guy gets very curious. Okay, he's curious, he's scared, he's also skeptical that all these things are some farce, but at the same time, there's curiosity also. He's like, what is happening? What is this, etc. Somebody tells him that Aghori, as we were discussing, he eats once in 3 days. And what does he eat? He consumes the brain matter of dead bodies with rice once in 3 days. The dome is the individual who used to, helps in the burning of the bodies.
Yeah, which is a whole other topic by itself. Met some domes, and that's a whole, it's a society almost.
Yes.
And they're supposed to also have tantric powers, I believe.
the worshippers of so it's there.
Yeah.
So in that, the dome used to refer to him, call him Baba, and he used to get that brain matter. If you have ever seen a skull pop in the fire, it makes a sound, and
What's the sound like?
it's like it's like a cracking of the skull in the fire, and then something will that brain matter, the gooey mass comes out, etc. So observed in a cremation ground. Anyway, so he used to consume that once in 3 days. He was a hardcore Aghori. Aghori means he's gone beyond even the rules of Tantra sadhana also. Nobody used to mess with him, nothing. But people used to revere him very much. That he is not an ordinary person. He's become Bhairava only. Bhairava is the lord of the cremation ground. Shiva in his form as Bhairava is the king of the cremation ground. Nobody comes close to him. He's the one. Okay. He controls everything there. Then one day, after a few days, he sees that, and he is curious to meet the gentleman, but he's scared of the gentleman. He's writing all this. It's the mix of emotions is going on. Okay. He sees that there are a lot of tantrics who have, tantric upasakas have come to that place suddenly one day, and from different far off places. And this is, we are talking about pre-independence India. So people have come from Bangladesh. There's a lady who has come from present day Bangladesh area. There's somebody who has come from some other place, etc. And he's wondering that why they're gathering. So he goes to one more friendly and approachable looking of the tantric upasakas and says that, why have you come? And he says that because we will be doing a chakra anushtan. Chakra anushtan is one of the highest pujas in Tantra Shastra. Greatest of pujas. Okay. Chakra is like the ultimate of upasanas. So, and the Baba has called us. How did he call? Telepathically. There's no telephone in that era. He's sitting in a cremation ground. He doesn't even have anything. So he telepathically calls them and they start coming. And those days they have to walk and things like that. So a few months ago and etc. They're gathering together. And they have come all in partners, groups, etc. And then there is a lady, who very senior tantric upasaka, who comes from Bangladesh. Okay. So this guy, he's curious and he's like asking, but don't you think this is all, what good can it come out of all whatever you guys do, etc. And the people are trying to convince him, no, you don't know this, you have not tried the path. If you don't know something, how can you say that it's good or bad? Okay.
Which is the story of most skeptics in the world. But anyway, go on.
Yes. So eventually the night of Amavasya comes. Amavasya is the new moon night.
Completely dark.
Completely dark. Okay. And at night, the chakra anushtan will happen. So what is a chakra anushtan? Chakra anushtan is a rahasya puja, it is called. Rahasya, mysterious worship. The term that is used is mysterious worship. It is not to be done in public. It cannot be, even ideally, the details of it cannot be spoken of in a gathering where the people are not initiated into Tantra puja. So people will sit in a circle and there will be a krama of sitting. There's the Bhairava and his Bhairavi will sit. Bhairava and his Bhairavi will sit. It's partner, Shakti. Okay. And there will be complete synergy between the two, by the way. When this practice is correctly done, the two people will have such coordination. One, the partner, the Bhairava may be here and the Bhairavi may be 5,000 kilometers away. Will know exactly what this person is thinking. And it will be perfectly, it's not like by fluke once or twice some coincidence happens and we think that, oh, something is happening. No. To test it, the Bhairava will mentally give a command, something weird. Okay. So, which is not, you cannot predict that thing, something. 3 to 4 times this test has to be done. Bhairavi is at a very far off distance. You will give a command. She will register it in her head and do exactly that. And that is how you know that the coordination has been built to that perfection. It is not to be left to a fluke. And I know that this may seem complete abracadabra to skeptics. I don't care. This is what it is. You believe it, you don't believe it, your business. I don't care. So then all this come together on the night. And in chakra, as I was saying, chakra, you sit together in a circle. Chakra means a circle. Together in a circle. And there's a leader of the chakra. He's known as Chakreshwara, lord of the chakra. And there is a Chakreshwari, his partner. Okay, they are like Bhairava and Bhairavi. They are like Shiva and Parvati, only in the cremation ground form. Cremation ground Shiva is Bhairava. Okay, and Bhairavi is his partner. So they sit together and they do this Panchamakara Upasana, one after the other. And it creates a tremendous crescendo of power. And the other thing that is there, once you enter the chakra, once anybody enters the chakra, you will lose your distinction of caste or any other outside. You may be rich, you may be poor, doesn't matter. As long as you are in the chakra, you are all one. Only difference is who has more Shakti than the other. And there is a certain arrangement of sitting that is followed in certain chakras and other things. But I won't go into all the details because not everything can be spoken of in public. But anyway, the chakra anushthan is happening. What I am talking to you is already written down in a text. Hundreds of people have read it. I'm just translating that story, and once again, because it brings out that element. Okay. So this guy, this author, he's very curious. What is it doing? So he goes into the cremation ground, and from a shrub in the forested certain areas, he hides himself there and is observing what exactly is going on. So you see that they are sitting together in a circle, and then in the middle there is the Aghori Baba who's sitting. On his left is that lady, that Upasaka, female Bhairavi who had come from Bangladesh, very senior, who was there, and the others were sitting in circles. So this goes like this, that the immediate left is the Shakti of that person, is the Bhairavi of that person. And then the puja starts. Puja means first there will be meat first. Okay. So meat with mantras, they will consume it, they will pass, consume, pass. And with every partaking of the meat, you will have to do mantra japa. It's not just let's sit together and have a feast. No. Every partaking, you have to sit and do mantras of Ishta. Then there's Karan. The term alcohol is not used. Neither is Madira used. The term that is used in Tantra is Karan because it takes you to the Karan Sharir. Purified, sanctified alcohol that takes you to the Karan Sharir. And with mantras and all these things, it has to be purified. It is not something you just get from the market.
To understand the word Karan Sharir, you'll have to go back to our second podcast. Your body consists of three parts: your physical body, your astral body, and your causal body. Your astral body can be thought of as your ghost, and your causal body is your purest form of your soul, which is just pure light. Now go on, sir.
Okay. So he's seeing from a distance that what exactly are they doing? And he's seeing with a bit of skepticism and curiosity, as it happens. The more skeptical we are, the more curious also we are. What exactly is happening? And he sees that there is the meat that is being passed, then there's the fish, and then there's the alcohol, and then there's the mudra, parched grains. So there are certain dry grain stuff that we use for mudra. And then there is the final Panchama Makara. And he sees that the Bhairavi, the Chakreshwari, who is the leader of the pack, the Aghori and the Bhairavi, she sits in front, she opens her clothes. He starts doing mantra japa on her forehead, on her neck, on different parts of the body. This whole process goes on for 1 hour almost. So he is doing mantra anushtan, mantra japa, constantly mantra japa of the deity. Basically, he's invoking the form of the mother goddess inside, okay, of that Shakti, of the power of the deity inside that his Shakti, inside the lady who's sitting there. And she's also a tantric lady, by the way, not an ordinary woman, etc. And he's observing all this. And he is also not sure what exactly is happening, etc. And then after some time, and it's kind of dark. It's dark, and what he's seeing is through there are lamps. Those days, obviously, you didn't have that kind of in that remote a place. So there was diyas or oil lamps, etc., lit in front of everybody. So the light of that lamp in the darkness at midnight on a cremation ground in an Amavasya, he's observing this scene. Okay. And then suddenly at the end of this whole puja process that is going on, he sees that the Aghori, who's the leader of the chakra, he sits, and on his left thigh, the lady who is also Tantric Upasaka, Bhairavi, she sits down in a specific mudra. Okay. And he's doing japa with this hand, there's a mala in his hand, like this is japa. And at that moment, there's a flash of lightning in the cremation ground, a thundering lightning. In the pitch darkness, and that lightning rips apart the darkness. Everything is visible at that time. And he sees, to his absolute shocking amazement, that there is the Chakreshwara, the Aghori is not there. It is Shiva who is sitting. Full jata there, and there are snakes around him in his head, and there is a Trishula, and there is Parvati sitting next to him. And he sees that, and he faints. In that flash of lightning, all he sees, he writes down, is that I can see that the Chakreshwara is gone. It's not there anymore. It is Shiva who is sitting, and there's Parvati who is sitting there in that posture, in that specific mudra, we call it, in specific posture. And there are snakes in his jata, as Shiva has snakes, okay. And there is a Trishul near him, and there are beings all around, etc. And he faints. He wakes up next day in the afternoon, and that dome who used to be there, he sees, when he wakes up, he sees that the dome is throwing water on his mouth and all that.
The person that burns the body.
So he's saying that while he was hidden there, and observing all this, the Aghori knew everything. So after some time, the Aghori called the dome and said that that guy is there, he's fainted. Take him inside, let him rest. He doesn't have the capacity to take the power of this. He doesn't even have an initiation. Forget an initiation. He was a very genuine individual, very high caliber Upasaka, very, very, very high caliber. So the kind of power that is generated for a person who does not have that practice, if he's there, it is going to cause a shocking effect on you. As we were discussing in the previous podcast, the moment you come into face to face with a reality that is non-conceptual, so you build concepts in your head, whether it's skepticism, I don't believe it, whether, oh, this is a big theory, there's God somewhere, but he's not coming here, I'm safe completely. The moment you have an altered experience, it breaks down your concepts, and you either run away scared from it or you bow down in reverence. There's no other rational way in which the mind can process an experience that is beyond your ordinary, what you are accustomed to. So he, this Chakreshwar, he knew that that guy was there. There's no way he can know because he's hidden there. And he calls this dome and says that he's fainted. Take him inside, put some water, let him sleep. So next day he wakes up and he's like stunned at what he has seen. And he comes to this Chakreshwar and says, and this Aghori starts laughing. Okay. And then there's a beautiful ensuing conversation. And it says that everything in this material plane is divine. It is not that there is a God outside. The God that you worship, Ishvara, Ishwari, the Shakti, the supreme power that we are worshipping, the supreme mother goddess that we are worshipping, she is here in this plane, everywhere, hidden inside. Even the things that you consider as impure, things that you consider as filthy, it is there, even there inside. That is the philosophy we have. We have, even from the Upanishads, there is a statement that Sarvam Khalvidam Brahman. Everything is Brahman. It is not saying that there is a God outside and not here. No. We don't believe only a transcendental God or a deity or an Ishvara. The Devata manifests here in this plane also. It is hidden there. It is through the process that you remove, process of the Upasana, of the practice of, you remove the veil and you have a direct experience of the deity. Okay. So what in this case, the whole point of this story was that when correctly done, this sadhana by the right people who are actually practicing and who look at it not as some kind of an enjoyment and some fringe activity I'm doing and some, whatever else they think they're doing. You look at it in the right sense. This is an upasana. This is a worship of the mother. You look at it with that sense of reverence, with that sense of sacredness. It has to be, that sacredness has to be there. And not just repeating sacredness 10 times. No. That feeling of reverence. When you go to a normal temple of, any normal temple, of a deity you have faith on, be it Hanumanji, be it Lord Shiva, be it Krishna, be it anybody, you have a sacredness and a sense of reverence, right? You go with you don't fool around there. You go, you fold your hands, sacredness. That sacredness has to be there in this process for it to work, because you are not just doing random actions. This is worship. Then this will manifest into a terrific spiritual state of absolute. This is Mahabhav Samadhi kind of state. This is where you not only have a manifestation of the deity. And I remember in the last podcasts, I think we mentioned that one of the goals of the Tantra sadhana and the other paths is for the deity to be inside you. Samavesha is the term that is used. Not just a liberation, but you divinize yourself completely. Okay, so that there's no difference between you and the deity, as I was saying. So this is what it is. That gentleman, that Aghori who was there, whose name is also not known, this incident, he had attained to that kind of a condition that when he was performing the ritual, Shiva himself had entered into him. There's no difference between him and Shiva. Now, what more is liberation? If Shiva, if a deity like Shiva comes into you, etc., that is yei moksha. This is moksha. This is liberation. This is all there is.
What about the people in that circle? They're a part of it to spiritually advance. Like,
Yes.
I'm assuming we spoke about how tantric sex is a very big boost in your spiritual advancement. I'm assuming that a ritual like this makes it even faster.
Yes.
And is everyone naked in this?
During the process, yes. Not when the Pancham Makara, the fifth Makara comes in. In fact, very often after the four Makaras are, the four Makara means after the meat, fish, etc., done. So each one can retire with their partners, specific partners, and perform it in privacy. Perform the fifth ritual, which is, again, they know this process. So they know what mantras to be chanted and how long, etc. They can do it in their privacy.
Okay. Wow, so many questions right now. why do these tantric sex techniques then work for the everyday human who reads it out of books? Because there must be some power in them, in those formats, in that technique that adds itself to an orgasm. I'm asking from a very city person point of view, nothing to do with tantric practice.
So there are certain techniques that work to enhance the the sexual intimacy and pleasure and all that. But that is so taking it out of the context is it has another fallout, by the way. So if you take it out of the context, if you do these practices and just follow, so the techniques that were developed, for example, for ensuring that an orgasm doesn't come so easily until all the puja and the anusthana etc is completed during the process etc, if you take it out from the religious context where it is used in that sense, you will end up becoming just the opposite thing that the religion abhors, which is you will become sort of a miniature version of a sex maniac. You will not only flare up your chakras that control sex, but you will go crazy about it. And if that's what you want, that's fine. Fair enough. Be clear in your head. Please go ahead and do what you want.
There's probably some neuroscience in this, that your body will release excessive dopamine in that moment.
Maybe. I don't know that. I can't comment on that. But my point is that the specificity of this is useful. This is useful as a technique only if you remember the context in which it is to be used.
So even at the peak of this technique, when used correctly, there is an orgasm, but it's not an orgasm.
It is an internalized orgasm. But initial stages, it will not. So for people who practice this actually, in a very, very broad manner, I'm defining it without going into more specifics. So initial stages, it is not going to work, that you will not be able to retain the orgasm. But eventually, as the practice deepens, etc., you are able to internalize the orgasm and it is at that peak moment when the mantra attains maximum power. Without the mantra, all this is meaningless. The mantra attains power, and the mantra becomes what is known as, you reach a stage, a specific technical thing that is used in text, which is called the mantra chaitanya, which means the mantra awakens. It becomes an alive entity inside you. Mantra is the deity. That is the moment your connection is built in a second.
I'm sorry if I'm crossing a line here, but is it like when you orgasm in that ritual, you have the vision of the deity?
More or less, but it is not, again, just like any other ritual for that matter, even a normal puja etc, it is not going to happen in day one. It is to practice, with the right partner and all the other settings being set in place etc. But yes, in that moment when the orgasm happens etc, in fact, one of the things that people were more keen on in those who are in this, those who practice this kind of asana, specifically for men, so that they can somehow retain the orgasm, or if possible, even sort of, go beyond the orgasm, not have the orgasm. Why? That is because orgasm calls, the moment there's an orgasm, there's this basic fall in the level of energy. Okay, so one of the typical things that after an orgasm that can happen in general is that you feel sleepy, you feel a little tired. So they did not want that fall of energy at any state, even during this process. So all these things that I'm talking about, by the way, makes only sense if you are doing the upasana. If you take it out of the context, then it's just whatever else you want to do, your business.
How long is that vision of the deity? Is it like an orgasm for like 3-4 seconds?
The vision of a deity, if it properly manifests, your conception of time will go away. That is what is called a samadhi. Samadhi means you enter into a zone where your normal sense of time, you're concentrated, a single pointed concentration on the deity or the mantra is so deep that you lose track of time.
Okay.
You lose track of everything.
I hear you. So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to TRS Clips for more.